she's never going to be able to do this, she's never going to be able to do that. There's always going to have to be somebody taking care of her. And so my mother at the beginning really didn't raise me. It was my grandmother. And a lot of what I am today came from my grandmother, because she was always there to say, you can be and you can do whatever you want to do and be. And that made me always have to struggle for my independence. It wasn't given to me. I fought for everything I have, for being able to dress myself. I fought for that because when I was growing up, my mom was always there, and if my mom wasn't there, my sister was. And so I never, if I was left alone, it was always, you know, well, we'll be back at so-and-so time, you know, somebody will be there to take care of you. And when it came to where I had to go, let's say, to the bathroom, and there wasn't anybody home, and there wasn't going to be anybody home for a couple of hours, that's when I started deciding, like, this is stupid. You know, I have a saddle by myself, and I get on my horse and I can ride by myself. And driving a car, the only thing that my dad could think of was, you know, here's the keys, it's insured. And so I learned to drive by myself because there never was anybody to teach me to do anything. And that's what I enjoy about the video that I'm making, is that I would have gave anything to have seen what what other people are going to be seeing, because I never had anybody sitting there, you know, well, here's an idea, you know, you could try this. I was the one that say, oh, you know, here's an idea, why don't I try it? Instead of somebody, you know, giving me the boost, I was giving myself the boost, because I taught myself how to write, taught myself how to drive a car, and literally stare and not ask questions. Well, that still bugs me a little bit, but I ignore it more now. But when I was younger, I would rather people ask questions, like little kids. It just tickles me to death when a little kid will come up and say, you know, you don't have any arms, why not? You know, and the mother and father over here just panicking, going, oh my gosh, I can't believe my child, you know. To where the mother and father have probably been sitting there thinking the same exact question that their child just asked. And I can sit down and explain it to the child, and it makes me, you know, and I'd rather it be that way than the parents or anybody just sit there and stare and just think in their head, oh my gosh, you know, this poor pitiful child, you know, how does she do things? Or, oh my gosh, I just, you know, can't believe that she's doing this. Where it's not a miracle, it's called survival. I mean, it's nothing. That's what, when I was growing up, it was everything. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle, it's survival. Okay, these are the tools that I use. And this, I call it a dressing stick. It's just a piece of wire, and it has, I don't know, some kind of, it's what, plastic. It's plastic on the top, so when you put it in your mouth, it, you get a grip on it. I really can't explain it, but anyway. And the suction cup, and it'll hook to anything like glass or anything that is a door that isn't wooden, that's kind of, it's got a real, more or less a glossy paint on it, and it'll stick to a door. It'll stick to the metal in a bathroom, like a public bathroom, public restrooms. It'll stick to the doors of them. And it has a knob on the end of it. And in the video you see how I use it to pull up pants. I hook my belt loops in it, and it's used for like your fingers that you put behind you to pull up the belt loop in the back. This is my fingers. This is what I use to pull the belt loops up with, along with the dressing stick too. The dressing stick's used for the front, and the knob is used for the back. It can also help with if you put on a pair of underwear, and when you're pulling it up with the dressing stick, it rolls. This helps, just like if you use your fingers to unroll it. The knob is more or less the fingers. And it's really amazing how after 20 years or 21 years of never dressing myself, how a little stick like this and a little suction cup with a knob on it can make a person independent. It was really weird. And I'm like, after I got these two devices and started practicing with them and working with them and more or less trial and error with them, and when I was able to completely dress myself, it was just totally amazing to my mother and my sister. For the first time when I come downstairs, I didn't come downstairs with my gown on waiting for my mother to get me dressed. I came downstairs with my clothes already on and everything already in place. For years, you know, people were always like, she needs, you know, artificial arms. That's the only way she's going to be able to dress herself. She's going to have something mechanical to help her dress herself. She's always going to need somebody there to help her dress herself. She's just going to have to need, she's really going to need them artificial arms just to make herself normal so she can learn to pull her pants up. Sorry. Didn't work that way because I'm sitting here with no artificial arms hanging off my shoulder, and I can dress myself with a stick and a knob. And it's a joke if you sit back and think about it. I mean, you kind of laugh. I do, because I remember, going through rehabs and stuff, and people saying, we'll make this little device, but, you can't use your feet. You're just going to have to use this little device. And my feet are my hands, and that's what everybody couldn't realize. I wanted to be so normal when I was younger. And when I was born, there wasn't a whole lot of kids like me. I mean, with no arms, I guess you might say. And I went to public school. I grew up with kids that had 2 good arms and 2 good legs, and I wanted so much to be normal. And I guess that's what the rehab was really trying to do for me, was try to make me, quote, unquote, normal, to where the older I got, the attitude I got was, I'm not broken. Give me something to use my feet. My feet are my hands. There's no way you can replace the hands. You cannot give me something I've never had. And I really wanted to learn to use my feet, and it got to the point where I just got frustrated with them, because every time I went to do anything with them, with the rehab, they were always like, okay, we'll do, like with electric arms or artificial arms, it was like, okay, you use these artificial arms, but to put them on, you can't use your feet. And I'm like, my feet are my hands, and they wouldn't see that my feet were my hands and progress on what I had. They always wanted to give me something that I didn't have. I mean, they wouldn't let me use my feet and let me grow with them. They wanted to always give me something to make me look normal. I don't know, I don't want to put down electric arms. Or my boyfriend, he helps out a lot too, and I always, people always get down, and like a lot of it's with school. When you get into college, and like I'm in my senior year, and everything counts on passing the classes that I have now, because I'm set on a schedule to where I've got to pass these classes this semester and next semester so I can graduate in May, next May. And that's a lot of pressure on a person. And so I try to keep my chin up, and my disability does not get me down anymore, because it's not, I used to look at myself as though, well, I'm not doing this good, and it's because I don't have any arms. That was a cop-out. And now I don't use it as a cop-out anymore. If I'm not doing something, if I'm not doing good in school, it's because I'm not putting forth enough of the effort to do good in school. And the way I look at myself in years to come is I'm going to graduate with that degree in accounting. If it kills me, I'm going to graduate with that degree in accounting. And I'm going to be rich someday. And I'm not going to, one of these days, I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to be able to sit back and not have to prove myself to anybody anymore. Because the last things I want to accomplish is after I graduate, and if I ever get to where I'm wealthy enough, I'm going to build a house to where it's set for me, to where I can function in it. Everything's going to be so short that everybody else is going to have to crawl around on their knees if they want to do anything in my house. I'm going to build a horse stables that's accommodated for me. I have it all in my head. My blueprints to the horse barn I want to build is in my head. And one of these days I'm going to be able to build it, and it's not going to be because I want people from worlds around or, states around to come and take photographs of my little, building or my little house and put them in, house magazines or whatever. I'm doing it because it's finally, I've got the money and I can do it, and for my own self-confidence, where I want to walk out there and saddle my horse, I can do it with a lot more ease than I'm doing right now, which, and it just, anything to make my life a little bit easier for myself and nobody else. But I'm going to be able to go out and feed by myself and do everything that I want to by myself. I'm going to use it for my accounting in college. I'm going to run Lotus 123 on it. And I'm going to do some home scheduling with it, checkbook balancing and stuff like that. And